All right, folks, how's it going? Welcome to another Mandolin Mornings live stream here on Saturday mornings, 11 o'clock Eastern every week. I hope things are coming through loud and clear for you guys this morning. How are you guys doing? Let me know in the live chat here on YouTube where you're coming from, or what you've been playing recently on the mandolin, or anything like that. We're just here to kind of hang and have a lot of fun. So we'll be talking about some things that have been going on this week in the mandolin world. We'll be talking about some tunes we're working on. We'll be playing some tunes together, hopefully, and yeah, let me know if there's anything you want to talk about later on. There'll be a Q&A section as well, so excited for all this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, well, let's see. Just to start off, this has been the first full week in my musical goal for 2021. If you guys have seen my video on setting goals, it's basically, this year I want to try to practice 2 hours a day every day and see what happens, just to have the mandolin in my hand more often. Looks like there might be some like kind of echoey stuff coming through here. I was afraid that I did some mic testing this morning and something was happening like that. Hopefully it'll be all right. I've tried to do some troubleshooting here, but if it's tenable, hopefully you guys can stick it as we move forward here. Be sure we get this sorted out for our next live stream. But anyways, been doing this goal here, 2 hours a day, every day. And it's something I've been realizing that I haven't been doing too much of in the past year or so. Like 2020 was kind of sporadic in my practice sessions. So it's already been exciting to kind of see some progress that I've made over the past week just by practicing the same thing every day for 7 days in a row. And I think that's a really big encouragement to me, even as like a professional musician, so to speak. I forget how easy it is to make progress if you just keep pushing forward and keep doing things consistently. So that's just a word of encouragement to you guys. Like, see if you can practice something every day this week if you can, because I think it's gonna really go further than you might expect it would. That's my hope, at least. That's my goal for 2021, is just to have that mandolin in my hands more often so that I can make that progress here. So let me know what your guys' goals are for 2021. If you guys have any new goals that you've been working on, what's your progress this first weekend on the mandolin? And let me know how things are coming along. And again, apologies for the echo here. I think it might be persisting throughout the stream here. So hopefully you guys are able to just listen to the first part of the echo, not listen to the echo itself here. I need my coffee as well, Chris. Man, I've actually got this new Mandolin Mondays coffee mug here that I'm really excited about. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I have a Teespring store now with a bunch of merchandise options for your Mandolin Mondays swag, if you will. And you can find some T-shirts, some sweatshirts, some coffee mugs, even some face masks, if you will. There's a link in the description below if you're interested in supporting the series and just showing off your general mandolin nerdiness and street cred to other people. So I'll be doing that this morning. All right, we already gotten some requests for some tunes later on as well. I'm excited to get to play some tunes with you guys, and maybe that's a good segment to coming over to the mandolin weekly portion of our stream. And I just wanted to share with you guys some stuff that's been going on the Patreon site. I don't know if you guys saw last night, I posted this brand new video on how to play St. Anne's Reel, which is one of my favorite traditional tunes. There's a lot of a lot of beautiful renditions that are recorded for this tune, and it's been around for a long time. People say it might come from Ireland, but I've heard it's from kind of the Canada, New Brunswick area. And there's some really old recordings of this one too. I was actually going back and trying to kind of familiarize myself with some of those old recordings, which I hadn't really heard before. And they're so different than the original melody that I know, honestly, or not the original, but the melody that I know, I should say. And yeah, it's been fun kind of getting to explore this tune more. In this video, we've been checking out the chords, the melody, and also some variations using some phrase structuring and also some target notes to help you basically identify parts in the tune that you can change up and still make it sound like St. Anne's Reel. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know what you thought about the video below. Also, we've got these play-alongs that I'm excited to be offering now. These are, basically backing tracks featuring bass, guitar, banjo, and mandolin shop, without any melody, to leave space for you to try out some of those melodies and variations on as well as some solo mandolin recordings of the melody and the variations. So anyone who wants to learn by ear can check that out as well. It's available to patrons on the site. And hopefully you won't judge my bass playing too hard. This has been kind of a new project for me in the past few months, as well as getting to learn how to play the upright bass a little bit. I've got it over here in the background, and it's been actually kind of a fun challenge, just like the mandolin upside down. Actually, you guys have any bass player friends out there, or any other mandolin bass switchers back and forth? Let me know in the comments here too. It's funny, we've got another friend who's doing a Patreon here. I don't know if you guys know Nate Sabat, but he's the bass player with Mile 12, and hey, I'll pull up his Patreon page as well. He's got an awesome website, and he's actually just starting a new Patreon page as well, and he's teaching his theory on bluegrass bass, basically, which I guess no pun intended there. He's a great teacher, and I've learned a lot just from playing with him. He's one of the most creative people I know, but he'll be doing a bunch of lessons on Patreon here. You can check out his page. It's at Patreon/Nate Sabat. It's got a lot of cool features going on here, and I was excited to have gotten to do this video with him earlier in the week. We did a duo performance of St. Anne's Reel as well, which was a lot of fun, getting to play kind of a bass mandolin combo, which you don't get to hear too often unless you're listening to like Edgar Meyer and Chris Thiele. But it's such a cool combination, like having that low end juxtaposed against the high end register of the mandolin. They actually work really well together. Let's see, Lucy. Awesome to have you here, Lucy. You're trying to learn the bass too. I had no idea. That's awesome. Well, I'm sure it'll be within your grasp before too long. It's kind of a straight ahead instrument that it's pretty nice and easy to get started on, in my experience so far. But there's a wealth of stuff that you can explore to really up your game, as far as like the rhythmic tenacity of your playing, like making sure that you're playing really in the groove with the rest of the musicians, and also when it comes to solo playing, like with the bow or taking solos with pizzicato style, Nate is like such an expert. He might be able to help you out if you're interested in checking out his Patreon as well. Let's see, Drew Egerton says, on bass, you have to really know the tune. No chance to miss a chop here or there. Yeah, you're so right. You really have to be on point all the time. You're not playing too many notes, but if you miss one note, it's a big deal. Like, it doesn't sound very good. And Connie says, my husband plays bass and takes lessons from Nate as well. Oh, that's very cool. He's awesome. I love to listen in on the lessons. Very cool. Yeah. Well, be sure to check out his site, patreon.com/Nate Sabat. And there's so many awesome Patreons out there these days. Like a lot of mandolin Patreons too. I'm happy to be one of the many, I should say, that are out there. Just to name a few, like Tristan Scroggins has a great one. Sierra Hull has one now. Mando Lessons, Baron Collins Hill has one. Daniel Patrick, who runs that Mandolin Some Beer podcast. So there's tons of people worth supporting on the site, and I know we all greatly appreciate it. That's been such a huge thing for us. We just really appreciate the generosity that all you guys have offered, especially in this crazy past year, and looking ahead into the future. Things still look uncertain. It's a huge just security for us. So thank you guys so much. Let's see, Tom Norman, man, thank you so much for donating $20 to the stream here. That really means a lot. If anyone also wants to contribute, there's like a little $sign by the chat box there. It's called Super Chat, where you can donate towards the stream, towards all these videos. Or if you have a question that you want to be featured, you can use the Super Chat feature as well. We'll make sure that we cover your question, and you can even buy like fun gifts and emojis and stuff like that. Anyways, let's see. John Richard says, playing with Celia Millington Wyckoff, great bass player. Oh, that's cool. I don't know Celia. I'll have to keep an eye out for her. But yeah, there's tons of great bass players out there as well. Lucy says that her dad just joined Nate's Patreon page too. That's awesome. Yeah, Lucy plays with an awesome bluegrass band as well. You should check out the Lindbloms. They're incredible. So let's maybe transition back to our main scene here. Well, this has been a fun week just checking out that St. Anne's Reel tune, and if you guys have any questions about my approach to tackling a fiddle tune like this, be sure to let me know in the comments here. But I thought we'd just talk a little bit more about this tune and some ways that you can continue to develop it as you play it more and more. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about these tunes too, is that like the more time you spend with the tunes, the more options you explore, the better you're going to be able to express yourself on these tunes. So, like I said in that video, every time you come back to this tune, it can be a new experience, and you can keep pushing yourself further. So we talked a little bit about how you can just make up your own variations to a tune like this by copy and pasting new phrases into like the back half of each line here. So phrases like 2 and 4 in the A section. The first phrase is kind of the introductory part of the tune. And then the second phrase is an opportunity to insert some new ideas. Finding a way to get back on track to that third phrase where you're hearing kind of the brunt of St. Ansriel again. And then, for that turnaround phrase, the fourth phrase in that A section, you get a chance to kind of try something else. That's a really great approach for it. And sometimes I'll do that as an improvising challenge. I'll make myself do all that on the spot where I'm not pre-planning any arrangement or any variations. I'm just seeing what happens in the moment. That's a really good exercise because it's helping you improvise within certain boundaries where you're having to get back on track, without dropping a beat or without slowing down or stopping or anything like that, and then having to get back to that melody at the end of this 2-measure improvised phrase. So what I do is just think about what are the target notes that I'm shooting for to get from this improvised section to the melody on that third phrase, for instance. So let's say I play through just the normal melody on the first phrase again. And then I want to play something new in the next 2 phrases, or the next 2 measures, I should say. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to land on that F-sharp note on the downbeat of the third phrase, because that's the first note of that melody again. To get back on track and to be able to play that St. Anne's introductory phrase again, I need to land on that F-sharp right on the downbeat. So the space in between is totally up to you to fill. And using like your D major scale or using arpeggios for the chords that you're playing around, those are all going to be really great options. So let me even just try improvising through a few set of variations here for this tune. Something like this. Sure, there's been better variations to be had on a tune like this, but just to give you some ideas, that's the way my brain works, where I'm kind of keeping that melody of the whole song as my through line through my improvisation or my variation, so to speak, and trying to get back on track at specific moments in the tune to keep the semblance of the original melody going. I think a lot of players do that as well. They're just like hearing multiple things in their head at the same time, where they're hearing like the original melody, that as they know it at least, going on inside their head. They're also hearing like the chord progression if they're not playing with anyone, especially they're trying to hear the reference for the chords inside their head while they're hearing the melody. And then they're hearing like this new stuff that they're playing on top of all that, seeing how it kind of like intersects with the melody as they're hearing it in their head. I know that sounds like really trippy, but it's a great thing to try to practice, to see if you can visualize all 3 of those things in your head at once while you're doing this. So that's a great place to start for variations. Also, in that video, we talked about target notes, right? Target notes are a big topic, and I'm sure we didn't really go deep enough to feel confident in this area if this is a new topic for you. But this is something I really enjoyed talking about in that video, though, because it's a huge part about how you can change up a melody and make it still sound somewhat like the source material. And we talked about in the video how if you identify what notes happen on beats 1 and 3 of a 4/4 measure, like in 4/4 time, like we're playing here in St. Ansriel, then it's going to give you basically the most important notes to the whole melody, because those beats in that measure are really the most important beats in the song. Those are the kind of the strongest sounding ones just by nature, because it just works out evenly, and we feel those downbeats a lot stronger. Just, I don't know, by listening to this pattern that we've grown to know through classical music, through Western pop music, all this stuff. It's kind of a trope or an archetype that's been established. So if we make note of those notes that happen on beats 1 and 3, no pun intended, make note of note, it's going to help us identify those target notes. So, we talked about how, like, the first phrase of the A section here, our target notes that fall on beats 1 and 3 are F sharp, A, and then a low F sharp as well. And if we keep those notes in the same place and try to intersect them with different notes on our scale, it's going to sound kind of like St. Anne's Reel. It won't necessarily sound exactly like it, but it's a great way to try improvising because it's using a reference for the original source material. And I think that's way better than just like doing, like, just playing a bunch of D major nonsense. Maybe there's a place for that too, but it doesn't have quite the same artistic touch as really referencing the melody like we're doing here. So I'd recommend you try this out with a bunch of different tunes, and we can maybe take a look at this together here. If the slapback's not too bad, I'd love to maybe still try to play some tunes with you guys here. And to start off, I thought we'd look at a real simple one. So you guys know this one. We looked at this one on a video not too long ago as well, where we were playing through the chord changes for this tune. But I thought it'd be fun to see if we could play through the melody as well. This is just a really simple double stop arrangement. We haven't looked at it on the Patreon site, but we will before too long. So if you're looking for transcriptions for all of these tunes, a great way to get them is just to sign up over on Patreon. And we'll be posting new lesson videos every week where we'll be looking at classic bluegrass repertoire like this, in both the fiddle tune genre and the vocal tune subcategory as well. So here's one. Yeah, you guys probably know this one already, but if you're looking to play this particular arrangement, I'm playing it with mostly double stops up in the 3rd position, where my index finger is on this 5th fret right here. I don't even know if I can play this one anymore. It's been a while, but let's see if I can read through this arrangement for you guys. Something like this. Something more or less like that. You can kind of hear the basic version of the melody for the verse there. And then usually what people do with this tune is they repeat that whole chord progression twice and take a solo 2 times through the form like that. So I thought that's what we could do together if you're up for it. Let me know, and we can try this out together. We'll be playing here in the key of G. We had a request from James earlier just to cover up over the chord progression before we start playing these tunes. I think that's a great idea. So if you're new to this one, the chord progression is really simple. Even if you just want to use these open chords, I think that's a great place to start. Like I mentioned in that St. Anne's Reel lesson, those are my favorite chords to play actually still to this day. So we have G major for 2 measures, then we go to a C major for 2 measures. Then we have this quick turnaround where we're going from G on 1 measure, D on 1 measure, back to G for 2 measures. And then after that, what we're going to do is repeat that. So we'll start off with 2 measures of G again, and then we have 2 measures of C, G, D, and then 2 measures of G again. So if you're up for it, let's try this out here. Maybe I'll kick us off here, and then I'll play through the melody twice here, the form twice, I should say, and then I'll let you guys take a spin twice through the form as well. We'll go back and forth, and I'll call out the changes as we go along so we can all follow together. All right, so wherever you are in the world, I am excited to be spreading the noise and the beautiful cacophony of the mandolin worldwide here through this live stream. So thanks for joining me here. Here we go. Let's try it really slow, something like this. 1, 2, 1. back to G, D, and then G again. Another round of G, back to C, G, D, and then G. Alright, let me take a turn on this. Alright, your turn again. Here we go. G to C, G, D, back to G. All that again. So G to C, G, D, G. Alright, let's try playing the melody together. Here we go. Nice job, everyone. Cool. So, yeah, this is just a nice way to warm up, and I like playing slow at the beginning of the day just to get all my fingers working up here. But hey, why don't we take a transition over to our source material for today? This is the transcription that's available over on Patreon if you guys are interested. I've got the variations written out too if you guys hadn't checked those out already. But yeah, this is just a fun chance to get to play the stuff that we've been working on this week. And if you don't know this tune, it is a little bit complex as far as the chords go, but I talk about in the video how there's some simple open chord shapes that might be a good place to start, especially if you're the only one playing accompaniment like we all are doing right now. And we want to offer a lot more harmonic support than just like those dry chop chords when no one else is playing backup. So let's see if we can learn these chords real quick. What I like to do is play my open D chord here, my open G chord here, back to D for that first line. And then for the second line of this tune, we have D for 2 measures. When we have a quick G, A, back to D. But then when we get to that B part, that's where things get a little bit hairy, right? Because we now have all these minor chords. Also, there's that weird slash chord that some people have asked about. I know that's a weird notation. And as mandolin players, you don't necessarily need to worry about it like I talk about in the video too, but it can be fun to add that in if you are the only accompaniment instrument like we all are at the minute. So here's what's going on. We have a D major first in the B section. Here's a nice kind of one finger E minor chord where I'm barring down on the D and the A strings on the 2nd fret. The open A chord that I like to use is this one, 2, 2, open, open. Again, just barring down with my index finger. And then here we have this kind of interesting chord progression where we're going from D over C sharp to a B minor. And a nice way to do that is maybe hopping up to your D major chop chord for 1 measure, or for half a measure, I should say. Then for the second half of that measure, all I'm doing is I'm lowering my ring finger to that C sharp, because that's what that notation is letting us know. We've got the triad on the left side of that fraction, D major, and then the C sharp on the right side of the fraction is letting you know the bass note that you have underneath the triad. And what's going on here is you can hear that kind of descending sound. That's a really nice feature to this tune. It leads you really well into that B minor chord at the last line of this tune here. And then after that, we've got another E minor, another A, back to D here. And I didn't share this story, but this is the song that really made me realize I needed to learn the chords to all these tunes that I was playing, because up until maybe I was like later on in high school, I mostly just played all by myself. So I would just focus on the melody, I would focus on improvising or just noodling around, but I didn't have much time for the chords. And finally I went to it was actually a college audition. I wanted to major in music, and I went to ETSU and had a jam with the head of the department there, Dan Boner. He's an awesome guy, by the way, good friend now. And we ended up jamming on this tune as kind of like part of an audition. And then I realized I played through the tune once and I kept going, and he was like, "Hey man, are you gonna give me a break? Are you gonna let me take a pass through the melody here while you play chords?" And I realized at that point I didn't know the chords to this tune, and it was really embarrassing. It was kind of like one of those watershed moments for me, and ever since then I've been scared straight. I've just always been learning the chords to these tunes, because it does limit you if you don't know the chords to a song like this. You can't play with other people. You can't record backup for yourself. It also limits you exactly in how you improvise or make those variations too, because if you don't know the notes that are within your chords here, it's gonna keep you back in the long run from playing notes that fit with these chords as you improvise. So yeah, I'd encourage you, definitely check these chords out. We go over it in that video lesson in more depth, so check that out too if you haven't already. But enough said, why don't we try playing this here? Maybe we'll try this just a little bit faster here. Make sure I'm not better tune. Alright, so we'll do the same thing here. I'll play through the tune once, and then we'll go back and forth a bit. Let's have fun with this one. Here we go. Alright, your turn. Get that G chord, back to D. Quick G, A, D. I'm just playing the root and the fifth of every chord as we go by, kind of like a bass or guitar. Alright, now we have D major, E minor, A, B, C sharp, B minor, E minor, A, D, E minor, A, D, C sharp, B, E minor. Alright, let me take a turn here. Alright, your turn. D, G, D, E, G, A, D. Alright, you guys ready to play together? I'm gonna try the harmony. like that. We could work on the harmony a bit more. But if you're looking for the transcription for that, I've also got this transcription for that performance video that I did with Nate where I played a similar harmony. That's something I want to get better at, honestly. It's like figuring out fiddle tune harmonies, both in my practice sessions and on the spot too. I'd love to be better at like being able to come up with that stuff in the moment, which is a big thing to do. I've never been that comfortable at doing it. I've been able to kind of get by with what John Hartford calls country counterpoint, where you basically just pick a note a third above the melody and hope for the best. But some people can do it so accurately. Like Matt Flinner is one of those people. By the way, Matt Flinner, I think he's gearing up for some big online courses. You should check out some of his stuff. He's got like a newgrass class I've heard about. Wonderful teacher. I took lessons from him for about 3 years, so I owe a lot to him for sure. But anyways, well, how about we play one more tune while we're at it here? This is one that I think we'll cover on the site pretty soon. It's one of my favorites that we have in the C major catalog. There aren't too many tunes in C major, to be honest, which is kind of a bummer. It's a great key to play in, and whenever I'm playing in a different key, I feel like it opens up a lot more possibilities for me melodically, whenever I'm coming up with those variations, or whenever I'm playing an improvised solo. I just feel the instrument differently because of how the notes lay out. So maybe you feel the same. I guess eventually we kind of want music to feel the same no matter what key we're in, but there's kind of some cool features to every specific key and how it lays out just with the idiomatic, those little things that we have on our instrument. Idiosyncrasies, that's the word I'm looking for. Why don't we try this one out? If you've never played this one before, the chords are really simple, and the melody is a bit twisty and kind of just uses a bunch of pentatonic notes. So even if you don't know the melody, I'd encourage you to take a stab at doing a solo over this key, or over this song, I should say. And maybe the key would be a good place to start, like seeing if you know your C major scale, even just one octave there, starting on the 5th fret of your G string. We have 5th fret on the G, open D, 2nd fret on the D, we got 3rd fret on the D, 5th fret, open A, 2nd fret, and then 3rd fret. And it kind of intersects all the notes of your C major chop chord, if you're familiar with that too. So that's a great shape to remember for other keys as well. But the chords to this song are pretty simple. It's like C, and then we have an A minor, which you can actually just use that 2-note A chord that we're using for A major in the previous song. That actually works for A major or A minor. It's kind of one of those cool bonus chords that has multiple purposes. I use that one a lot. And then, of course, we have G. The only new chord that we have that might be a little tricky is this F major chord on the first line of the B section there. And you can play an F a lot of different ways. One thing I do is I like to play this F chord right here. It might be a bit of a stretch at first, but it actually feels comfortable in my hands over some of the other F major shapes that are out there. And the fingerings are my ring finger on the G, 5th fret. I got my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the D. I have my open A string, and then I have the 1st fret on the E string to get this full F sound. And if you think about it, it's actually very similar to your G major chop chord. If you just move that shape 2 frets down and accommodate for the open A string by like shifting your fingerings like this, it's actually the same shape or the same formation of notes that you would use for a 4-finger chop chord. So that's a good F chord. Or another one that some people find a little bit easier. I don't really love it quite as much. It doesn't have as good of a sound in my ears, but it is useful. This 3-note F chord on the 2nd fret of your G string, and then you can just bar down with your middle finger on the D and the A string at the 3rd fret there. That's another good F chord to remember. But either way, those are both great options for this F chord here. And yeah, why don't we just try this one out? Maybe we could since we're all warmed up here, let me try this one a bit faster. And even if you can't play along, just see if you can play maybe the chord changes at the downbeat of every new chord. That's a great way to get familiar with these chords here. I see a lot of people being empathetic for my experience with the chords, learning the chords to all these tunes. So thanks for being with me here. I know it's a struggle for sure, but playing along with backing tracks or with recorded work of whatever tune you're working on, or doing this as well, it's going to be a great way to learn those chords too. honestly, the best way to learn the course of the tune is to go to a jam where you'll probably play through a tune like Billy in the Low Ground maybe 15 times in a row before the end of the circle comes around. So while we're still in COVID land, it's this is the next best thing, I guess. So thanks for joining in here. So why don't we try this out? And again, if you can't keep up, see if you can play these chord diamonds. Just like play a down strum for each new chord as it passes by. That's a great way to get familiar with these chords if it feels unmanageable at the beginning. So let me try this out for you. Here we go. We'll try something like this. All right, your turn. Here we go. C, A minor, C, A minor, quick G, back to C. Now to that F chord, A minor, G, C. Back to C. Alright, my turn. Here we go. Alright, your turn. Here we go. Play the melody together here if you can. I'm terrible at tags, but man, it was great playing these tunes with you guys. Let's take a transition over to some Q&A time now, and I'm excited to hear your questions. If you have any thoughts about Mandolin or about any of the tunes we were playing or about stuff going on the Patreon side or on YouTube, let me know. Let me hear from you guys here. If you're just joining us again, all those transcriptions are available on Patreon, or if they aren't available on Patreon, they will be soon because we'll be looking at new tunes like this every week, and I've got lots in store for this year on Patreon and on YouTube. Excited to kind of dig in some more and try some stuff with you guys. Again, apologies for the slap back. I hope it hasn't been too bad for you guys. Thanks for hanging through it, and we'll be sure to iron out those details next time. But I saw some questions about like the regularity of these streams, and yeah, we're trying to do this every week this year. There might be some exceptions where we take some breaks, but for the most part, you can expect this to be happening every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and the format will be just like this. We'll be talking about stuff going on in the mandolin community online, and stuff that's going on Patreon. We'll be talking about tunes. We'll be playing some tunes together, having some interesting new materials to look at as well. So be sure to subscribe. That's the best way to get notified about these things that are going on, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. And if you want to follow even more in depth, you can support the site and support the channel over on Patreon. There's a link in the description here below. Patsy was asking about the link. Can I link to Patreon and see this entire episode? Yeah, you can actually get access to all these Mandolin Mornings live streams if you sign up for Patreon as well, where they won't be available to the general public after the fact. You have to tune in live if you're not a part of the Patreon. But if you are a member of Patreon in any tier, you get previous access, or access to previous live streams, I should say, for all the stuff that we're doing here. So let's see, what we got here. We got some questions. Jacob Mathis, yo, what's up, David? Been playing along with the bouzouki a little bit. Nice, man. If you don't know Jacob, he is an incredible artist, and both visual artist and musical artist, and has an awesome bouzouki. It's built by J.J. Ryan. Is that the name of the luthier? Let me know. I forget. I saw the video that you made recently, and it sounds fantastic, man. Just the way that you sing and play all that stuff at the same time kind of blows me away. I have no idea how you do that. But yeah, so it's an awesome sounding instrument. You guys should check out Jacob's work on Facebook and Instagram. He does some really amazing illustrations of bluegrass and Irish artists. And he also did all the animations and all the illustrations for the site. So, when you see that little Patreon bobblehead kind of thing pop up, that's all Jacob's work. We're so thankful for that. But yeah, so let's see. We got Josh Franklin, J-Tag. What's up, man? Been playing along with the fiddle. Very cool. Oh yeah. All instruments welcome. Doesn't have to be mandolin for sure. Like I mentioned, I've been learning a little bit of bass. I wish I could play along bass to get some practice with you guys, but that would be a little bit weird. I don't want to subject you guys to my bass playing any more than I have to. But let's see. We got some other stuff here. James William Houghton says, been looking into tone woods a lot lately. Any thoughts on good tone woods for mandolins? Yeah. Well, mandolins are generally made out of spruce, as far as I can tell. I don't know too much about the spec side of stuff, but there's like Sitka spruce seems to be kind of the big tone wood that a lot of people go for the top, and then you usually see folks using wood like rosewood for the fretboard, which I think the fretboard actually does have a lot to do with the tone of an instrument as well, which is really interesting. And then usually maple back and sides. But I think that's what this mandolin is here. If I'm wrong, correct me. I actually don't know too much about the specs about this instrument, to be honest. But you hear like folks making rosewood tops for guitars. You hear some people doing that for a mandolin. There's also different types of spruce that people use for the top, like Englewood spruce, I believe, or Engelmann. I get that mixed up. I think it's Engelmann. That's gotta have like kind of a little bit of a warmer, kind of darker tone. The Sitka has maybe a little bit of a brighter, punchy sound to it, as far as I can tell. And it just depends on the mandolin too, and like how the luthier shapes the wood and tunes the top of the instrument. All this stuff. That's a huge topic of conversation. I'd say like maybe reach out to some luthiers that you trust and get their opinion on some stuff. If you're interested in building a mandolin as well, they would be the great resource to get in touch with. Again, the mandolin I play is built by a guy named Oliver Pitius up in Ontario, Canada. He actually just opened up his waiting list for the first time in a couple of years. So if you're looking to get a mandolin, this would be a really great option. Really beautiful craftsmanship, and hopefully the mandolin sounding good to you guys. I think it's sounding good on this end. And yeah, just had it worked on recently. Got some fret jobs done, and yeah, just some adjustments that have made it sound even better, which I'm really excited about. But red spruce, John is correcting me. Yeah, nice. That's great. I again always forget kind of the technicalities of that stuff. I guess I'm more of a player than kind of a technician on a lot of these things. But it is so helpful to know more about that stuff. there's a bunch of other great builders that are out there. The guy who built this armrest is actually another great builder. I always talk about him. He's a great guy, player, great builder and luthier who lives in Nashville. His name's Dan Voigt, and I think he's building some mandolins at the minute as well. If anyone's interested, I guess like there's nothing but time right now to build mandolins, which is great. Let's see. Craig says it's closed already. Apologize. We got sometimes these Mandolin Mornings live streams kind of cut off before or after the published date. I guess you have to kind of tune in beforehand. Hopefully you guys will be able to see everything all right here. Looks like we got about 50 folks online, which is great. If you're just tuning in, we're just talking about like some different types of tone woods, and if you have any questions about mandolins or about how to play a mandolin or anything like that, let me know in the comment section here below. Uncle Bobby says he has a redwood top on his mandolin. Very cool. Yeah, warmer tone. Interesting. I've never actually played a redwood mandolin before. It'd be interesting to see. I'm sure there's like a huge difference in the sound. I think it is like the top of the instrument in particular seems to be like the big factor in how a mandolin speaks, because that's where all the vibrations from the strings are entering into the mandolin and then echoing in the inner chamber and coming out the F hole. So just that, how the wood is responsive to those vibrations, how tight the grain is, I think is a huge thing, or how dense the wood is makes a difference. It can differ from tree to tree too, as far as I can tell. Tabitha and I actually got to go visit some luthiers in Poland a little over a year ago, right before all this craziness happened. We visited Peter and Michael Bulias, who live in Warsaw, and we spent some time there because they built a new banjo for Tabitha. They make some wonderful banjos, and they also make some mandolins too. Michael just started making mandolins the past few years here, and they're putting out some really cool, innovative stuff that I'd recommend checking out. But they were talking about how it was really tough in the communist era for them to find American-related style music. And Peter, I guess he was probably, I forget, like in his teens or 20s at the time, and he was talking about how he came across that Foggy Mountain Banjo Earl Scruggs record. And that was the first time he'd ever seen a banjo before, and first time he'd ever heard it before. And he just wanted to play it, wanted to learn how to use this instrument. So he didn't have anywhere to get a banjo. He had no internet to look up how to build a banjo or anything like that. So what he did was he looked at the cover of that album and saw Earl Scruggs' banjo. And he saw like how big his hands looked on the instrument itself. And he built it just by using that one photograph as a reference, which absolutely blows my mind. I have no idea how he did it, but how many years later, like decades later, he's still building banjos and building them really, really amazingly well. It just kind of blows me away that people can do that. It's a gift that I don't have. But yeah, Michael's been building some great mandolins. Michael's his son, and they've got a great Facebook page with some beautiful photos of the stuff that they're working on here. All right, so catching up with some stuff here. Chris Flake says, yeah, Mandolin Cafe might be a good resource to ask about making mandolins. That's so true. They have kind of a randomized featured builder of the day that they feature on the front page, and they have a huge list of hundreds of luthiers worldwide that are building mandolins these days to just see what the options are out there. Peter Barnes is an Austin Clark. Oh, very cool. Oh, you're just recommending him. He is a great luthier. I haven't met him before, but I've played a few of his instruments that sound wonderful. And William Cooper says, this is a co-op. Any thoughts on the apparatus that clips onto the body? I see you're using a tone guard, I think. Yeah. So just talking about some accessories here for the mandolin. This is a weird little toy that I love, actually. It's called a tone guard, and it's exorbitantly expensive. It's $75 for this hunk of metal, but it makes a world of difference. I can understand why they charge so much. And but it does just clips onto the sides with tension using these rubber gaskets, so that hopefully it doesn't cause any marks on your mandolin. I've been kind of careless sometimes, and it ends up leaving some scratches if you're not careful. But it just keeps your clothing and your stomach away from the instrument to avoid deadening any of the resonation from the instrument itself. So that's a huge thing. And then also with the arm rest here, there is an apparatus that helps clips onto the side. This is the same technology that they use to I guess, attach chin rests from a violin onto a violin, and it works really well. There's some cork on either side of the clip to really soften the contact of the metal onto the face of the instrument. So again, it shouldn't leave any marks on your instrument if you're careful. But I definitely recommend both. Shogar says Dan Voigt's work is fantastic. I didn't know he made armrests. Yeah, I don't know if he actually publicizes it too much. He doesn't have them for sale on his website, but you can always contact him through the submission form on his site, and he can let you know if he has any in stock or if he's building at the minute. But yeah, Neil Gordon, that's my take on tone guards. I love it. I think it really does make a difference. I can even, I don't know if it'll come through with the slapback today. Maybe I'll have to do a demonstration later on and show you what the difference is between the two. And Patsy Ann says, there's no one I know who plays mandolin. I was really out on a limb, so I tapped into Banjo Ben's online store and fell in love with an Eastman. Yeah, very cool. Patsy, I'm so glad that you've come to find the most amazing instrument in the world, right? It's not only fun to play, but there's a great community around it too. So I hope you've been enjoying it so far. Banjo Ben is a huge part of it. I actually just ordered some picks from him recently, and he was kind enough to he sent me a sticker and like this T-shirt here, and I love Banjo Ben. He's like the nicest guy in the world, and he has an amazing wealth of online content for learning mandolin players, banjo players, guitar players, and I definitely recommend you check out his stuff if you haven't already. But yeah, benefits of the armrest. Ethan Van Thelio says, basically, I like the feel of the armrest because it makes the mandolin feel a bit bigger or more substantial. It puts your arm a little bit further away from the top of the instrument, and also this armrest puts your arm at an angle to meet the strings, which is really nice. Instead of it being like this really sharp right edge of the mandolin top meeting your arm, it's like this kind of gentle slope that puts your hand in the right spot to meet the strings. And different armrests, will have different angles or be at different heights. This one's really nice because it's rather high. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's got kind of a steep angle to it that is really great for this mandolin, since it's got a pretty deep neck set where the bridge is really tall to kind of accommodate for this hyperextension of the neck here, which is a really cool design on Oliver's part. So yeah, that's why I love it. It feels like I don't have to tense up, kind of squeezing the mandolin to my midriff here. I can just kind of relax because I always have this point of reference to hold the mandolin secure, and it also is just helpful for that. It kind of makes sure you're always placing your arm on the mandolin at the same place every time. So that way you're building up the proper muscle memory to feel where the strings are. Even if you're not planting with your fingers on the instrument or planting with your wrist behind the bridge, you can just use that armrest as a point of reference there. So hopefully that helps. But let's see if I missed any questions here. So back on the tone woods idea, John is saying that red is stiffer. Yeah, so I think that is a huge thing too. Just like the complexity of the wood, like how dense it is, like I was mentioning before, all that really goes a long way. The reason I was bringing up the Poland trip as well, I got sidetracked, but when we went to Poland, they built this really beautiful banjo that Tabitha's playing now. It's like kind of her signature model. They call it the Scarab Beetle banjo, and they found the wood at this logging site in Poland, like kind of in the southern part of the country where there's these beautiful forests, and they found this particular set of wood that was just special, just so much different than all the others. They could just feel how the density of it, made the difference. I'm out of my element here. I don't really know exactly what they're looking for, but they had enough just to build 3 particular banjos, so they made 2 others exactly like Tabitha's, and they sound really similar, which is really interesting, Whereas if they'd used the same plans with different wood, I don't think it would have sounded quite the same. Even though banjo is such a metallic instrument, all the parts to it are metal, so to speak, like the tone ring and the head and all that stuff. Again, I'm out of my element in the banjo scene too, if you can't tell. But yeah, it goes so far. Just the wood that's selected for your instrument is probably the most important part about how the mandolin sounds. William Cooper says, I have an Eastman I bought from the Banjo Ben store. Starter instrument, but I like it. Life member, the store is first rate. Yeah, I agree. I haven't been to the store, like the physical location of the store, but yeah, it'd be fun to check that out. I've been following all of Banjo Ben stuff online, and digging at his Whataburger sideburns now and the mullet that he's rocking. It's so cool. What a guy. He's definitely living life to the fullest here. Well, I guess we're running out of time here today. Again, thanks for your patience with the slap back here. I apologize if that's been interrupting your experience of this, but we'll make sure that things are sorted out for next week. Again, tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. for more tunes and questions. Let me know, too, in future live streams if you have any other questions about music theory or any other tunes that you're looking at, questions about mandolin technique. Everything's fair game here. So thanks for hanging out with me on this stream. It's been a lot of fun, and I really look forward to doing this. And I really look forward to connecting with you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out through my website or through my Patreon page, and we'll connect. We'll make sure it happens here. But be on the lookout for more videos in the upcoming week. We'll be looking at a really wonderful tune from the Carter family, Bury Me Beneath the Willow. It's a classic bluegrass song. You probably heard it off that Skaggs and Rice record. And we'll also be looking at some other stuff that I'll be excited to share about soon. We'll just buckle in. We'll have another fun week here, and happy picking. It's great to see you guys. We'll talk to you soon.